Have you had plant medicine experiences or used substances with the hope that it would expand your consciousness and bring about meaningful change and been somewhat disappointed that you haven't quite got the results you thought you were going to get? Today we're going to look at that as to why these sorts of substances and plants maybe don't quite get us to the destination we're looking for. It's become very popular to explore the use of ayahuasca, DMT, psilocybin, and other illicit drugs to expand one's consciousness or to create insights into the areas that we might be stuck with and bring about some kind of healing. But so many people, certainly clients that I've had, have had very powerful experiences, but not necessarily seen the changes in their everyday lives. And those that train with proper plant medicine practitioners and shamans, etc., will say, well, that's because there's an integration process. And I would agree, that the job's not done as soon as the experience is over. Although I think there are some people that are hoping those amazing insights or those states that are reached in those peak experiences are just automatically going to lead to changes in everyday life. And yes, I can speak from experience that these states are beautiful and very enticing and are a beautiful reference point from which to experience a certain state. I've always spoken about these sorts of experiences as shortcuts to states of consciousness that we're all actually able to reach without the assistance of a plant medicine or a substance, but it takes, for most of us, a lot more time, a lot more effort, a lot of meditating, and maybe just chance that we happen to slip into a blissful, expansive state. So of course it's very tempting to want to take that shortcut. And as much as there is talk about integration afterwards, a lot of people maybe don't know exactly what that looks like, or don't take the time, don't stay connected to certain guides or practitioners that can help them with that process afterwards, and end up slipping back pretty quickly into just their everyday existence without having experienced or seen the change that they really hoped to see. Well, they saw a change for a little bit, but then slipped back again. And so this is where I can't help but advocate for options that don't necessarily require those states. I'm not trying to talk anyone out of having an expansive experience using plant medicines, and I definitely agree that it has its place and can be very enlightening and very insightful for the individual. But it doesn't replace what happens afterwards, and you can dive into the process of what is referred to as integration even without a plant medicine, which is again where my strong recommendation and preference for parts work comes in. That does not require anyone to go into an altered state using a substance, that we have access to alpha brainwave patterns at the very minimum, all of us, because we all have imaginations. And as soon as you just allow yourself to suspend disbelief, open up to your emotions and imagine, you've got access to alpha brainwave states. And potentially dropping into theta, the more practice that you get, or some people are just naturally able to drop in deeper to more theta brainwave activity that really allows for that letting go and that deeper experience. So we can just start there. We don't need to have the plant medicine experience first before doing the parts work. And if you were to have a plant medicine experience and gather some really powerful insights about some things that maybe need your attention, parts that are out of balance in your psyche, your personality, parts that are wounded that haven't been healed yet, then you bring them to do the work. Obviously, it helps to have a practitioner to guide you through that work, someone who's experienced. You can do it on your own, but I'd encourage that would be maybe more for people that have really had a lot of practice, potentially even need to be a practitioner yourself to really be skilled enough to do it on your own. But it's possible, for sure. And the second thing that I would like to highlight in this video, is that those expanded states of consciousness can be reached without the substance. And I've been fortunate enough to train with a brilliant individual by the name of Peter Smith. And Pete has created some wonderful modalities for expanding consciousness under the banner of quantum consciousness and universal consciousness as trainings he offers practitioners, and as a type of experience that trained practitioners such as myself can offer others. And really, the beauty of it is that once we open ourselves up to the knowing, the belief that we are connected to the whole unified field of consciousness. So it starts with that. If you're not open to that idea, probably no point listening to what I have to say next. But if you really look at the science is there to back up what I'm saying. Entanglement, experiments with entanglement are showing us that everything is connected, despite what our five senses might tell us. The double slit experiment highlights how we're influencing our reality and connected to the external world and circumstances that unfold just by the act of perceiving or observing. So if you want to look around, the data's there, but I'm not here in this video trying to convince you of the connectedness of all things. But if you already believe in that, you already have this sense that that's a truth for you, then you're already a good percentage of the way towards having an expanded consciousness experience, because simply allowing yourself to open up to that knowing, to the knowing of your connectedness to all there is, allows for someone to guide you into that state. And when you have two people, the practitioner who believes that you are able to expand into that knowingness, that magnificence of who you are beyond your physical, and an individual also opening up to that, the combination of that combined consciousness is like rocket fuel to help the individual access all sorts of insights that could be about your own life, parallel lives, cosmic consciousness. There's really kind of no limits. So for those of you that maybe aren't open to all of that quite yet, my apologies if I've gone a bit too out there for you compared to some of my other content. But until you've experienced it, I would encourage you to hold judgment. And that's part of the issue with the human condition, is if we hold a belief that something isn't possible, but it's not based on any kind of direct experience, then we're limiting ourselves. Just saying that something's not possible based on a belief or something that we've been taught but has no correlation to a direct experience that we've had, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me anyway. So I guess in conclusion, I'm encouraging you, the viewer, that maybe you found your way to this particular video, to be aware that plant medicines, whilst they have their place, and I'm certainly not trying to discourage people that use them in responsible and appropriate ways to avoid them if they've been helpful in certain ways. But as far as the embodiment of those experiences, it's not necessary to have to put a substance or a medicine in your body to have that experience. And the expanded consciousness work that Peter Smith is offering and has trained me in, it's easier to integrate back into your everyday life because there's not such a big gap between the altered state that a plant medicine or a substance takes you into and the expansive state that you can more naturally access. Obviously, if you're interested in learning more about it, you can see some of the links below, and I'll also put the link to Pete's website, Quantum Consciousness. Thank you.